Hi, this is a short video for all of us that have suffered with tight neck and shoulder issues, and that's so many of us these days because everybody's on computers and iPods and iPads and we're just being pulled forward by our heads. So I'm going to show you just a couple things you can do every night before you go to bed that'll really help you get rid of some of the chronic tightness in your neck muscles and down the upper part of your back, and even around your actual arm and shoulder girdle itself. And I used to have chronic tight, terribly painful issues in my neck, and I never have them anymore. And this is just a little, a few of the things that I like to do. So I'm going to show you a few of these. All right, the very first one is to strengthen and stretch your shoulders, and it's the most common downward facing dog. And we'll do it from hands and knees to start. So it's really important that you keep your arms really strong and not bent, but really strong, the muscles strong, and that you place your finger pads down well and get like a little baby claw like this, like you're clawing the mat. You want to keep your hands strong. Your arm bones are straight up and down with your wrist underneath your shoulder. And then you look up and let your upper back soften down just a little bit toward the floor, but keep your arms from bending. And then move your knees back, draw your belly in, and head up into the very first downward facing dog. And then don't worry about your heels touching the floor. You want to press the underside of your arm forward and down, and keep it really grounded through the four corners of your palm, from your index knuckle to the inner heel of your hand and your pinky finger knuckle to your outer heel. And then just relax your head, and almost like you want to swoop your armpits forward and let your chest soften toward the floor a little bit. And then just draw your belly in and get a nice long stretch. You can push your hands forward toward the front of your mat and down, and your hips up and back. And that just feels really good. And then you take your time, feel your breath, and come down in the hands and knees. And then the second one is you can just sit back on the floor or on your sticky mat if you have one. And two of the prevalent teachings that have helped me so much is keeping your sides long from your hips to your armpits, not slumping down, and keeping the top of your arm bones straight back. So if this was like a baseball and this is the catcher's mitt, you want to keep your baseball in your catcher's mitt. So you never want to drop your arm bone forward. It just weakens all the muscles that support the rotator cuff. So we want to, again, we'll think in everything we do, we want to have attention to the sides nice and long and the arm bones back. So that's one key principle. And then the other is that you want to keep your head as often as you can balanced over your tailbone. So that would look like this from the back. So the back of your skull here lined up over your tailbone. So not always so forward and rounded. And that's what gets us into a lot of trouble and starts to contract the muscles in your back. So sides long, arm bones back, head basically over pelvis. And then one of the key stretches that we like to do in our yoga studio, Springs Yoga in Atlanta, Georgia, is to go to the wall. You can stand up and find any wall, put your hand on the wall, lift your side body nice and long, and then take your arm bone back and then gently turn into the middle of the room. So again, here's the key teaching: side long, arm bone back, head over pelvis. And then you obviously would hold it, get a nice stretch through your pecs. When the pecs are tight, your front chest, it pulls the arm bones forward, which, as we discussed, is one of the things that creates a lot of musculoskeletal tension on your upper back and your neck. And of course, always do both sides. Even if you only have one side that's a little bit cranky, you always want to do both. So you lift the side long, arm bone back, head over pelvis again. Okay? And then from there, you can actually do a little stretch the same way. So if you've got any bad shoulder injuries, you can hold a strap between your hands. You don't have to interlace, but if you don't have any major injuries, you can just interlace your fingers. And again, lift the sides long and the arm bones back, and then just gently start to stretch with your elbows bent. Stretch your arms apart so you widen your chest, and then push your hands down. I'm going to turn around again so you can see. So we go here, and then widen the chest, and then lengthen down through the arms, and just take a little, draw your belly in, and bring your head right over your tailbone. And that will open up a lot of things right there. Okay, so those are 3 active things you can do. Dog pose, wall stretch with the sides long and arm bone back, and then also clasping your hands. And again, you can use a yoga strap or a belt and keep your hands as wide as your shoulders if you've got any major shoulder impingement. And then a couple things that I use a lot, especially in the night before I go to bed, is I take a simple cotton blanket, like a blanket you'd have at the studio. They're a little bit firm, they're not squishy, and I make a roll. I roll it up and I pat it. If you're super tight, you might want to make the roll a little thinner, like not so wide in diameter, if your neck and shoulders have been really bothersome. You can also pat it down and make it flatter. Or you can just fold a blanket like this. You don't have to fold it all the way. So it might be like half fold. Okay? And then the roll is going to be underneath, right here, the bottom tips of those shoulder blades. So again, if this is like a baseball and this is a catcher's mitt, you're going to put it at the bottom of your catcher's mitt. So it'll look like this. You'll sit in front of your roll. And at the end of the day, you'll love lying down on your back. And you get it right here in line with your bottom of your shoulder blades. And then, oh, that feels so good. And then lay your head and upper back over the top of the roll, and then open your arms out like a T and extend your legs. Now, several things can happen here. If you're really a little stiffer in your upper back, you might find your chin is way up like this, and that's making the back of your neck too short. So if that's the case, you'll want to unroll the blanket some. The other thing that might happen is your ribs might poke way up, like your front of your rib cage might be way up. And if that's happening, try bending your knees, kind of wiggle around on the blanket roll again, and then bring the rib cage down if you can. And if that still can't happen without letting your chin go way up, then you're going to, again, make the blanket roll just a little bit smaller. The other thing that might happen is that your low back might feel too arched. It might be uncomfortable in your lumbar spine. And you can always just lift your bottom here and put a small folded towel underneath your bottom. And then you just open your arms and you stay here for about 2 minutes, 2 or 5, and just rolling the arm bones back and letting the blanket roll help you open the front of your chest. And that's going to take the pressure off the back of your neck and off the back of your upper back. So this again is great for students, anybody in the profession where they have to be looking down and forward a lot. And it feels super good. I do this every night or some version of it before I go to bed. And then after you've finished staying on it an enjoyable amount of time, you roll over to your side and use your hands to come up and move your blanket out of the way. And then if you have this little wonderful device, this will be the last thing I'll show you today. Stay tuned for more because I have millions more tips to tell you for just about every body part. But this little guy is called the wooden pillow. It's a Korean pillow. It's quite fabulous. We sell them at our yoga studio. And I will lay on this sometimes this way. I put it underneath my neck. You get it right in the curve of my neck. Oh my gosh, that feels so good. Bend your knees because that'll make your spine nice and long. And then you can roll your head a little bit side to side, just catching the back of your skull bones. It's called your occiput. And you can just roll side to side. I stay on this for several minutes and just rest and move into my breath and just let my body be finished with the events of the day. My child's asleep. Dishes are done, dishwasher's on, laundry's done, day is done. And this is sort of the way I end my day, just to unwind my body so that I'll sleep better. So you might stay here with this a few minutes, and then here's the piece I really love for people with tight neck and shoulders. You just start to wiggle up and over it until you get this wooden pillow. Again, right at the bottom tips of your shoulder blades. So it's very similar to the blanket. It's just a little harder, obviously. But it's not quite as big, so it's quite lovely. It's a nice way to open your neck, too. And then you just open your arms and let your whole body just melt down over the wooden pillow. Again, hands are face up. My sides are long, even here, and my arm bones are straight back. Okay? And again, you can stay here as long as you wish. If you haven't done any of these, I would build up time. I wouldn't stay very long to start with, and then I would slowly increase time. They're quite attention-getting if you've never done it before. And then you bend your knees, take your belly in and lengthen your low back, and then roll over to your side. Okay, so those are just a few of the things that I do that I think you'll find helpful. Again, it's a very short routine. I really do it more as the end of my day, and just a way to say thank you for this day and to keep my heart open. So it helps open your chest and move your arm bones back and really let you prepare for a nice, restful sleep. Thank you so much.